So while our model is running, we can, you can see it right there, we can take a look at some of our places where we're going to need an elevation change. And looks like we already got this one where we wanted it to go, but maybe we can do with something to kind of help it along, and that is to drop it down a little where it's supposed to be. So if I'm on my elevation file and I click this area in here that represents the elevation, I can get this value, and I'll just click copy attribute value. Now I need to go to the elevation group here, and I need a polygon to surround the centroid of the grid element that I want to change. So if I click edit, I can do it up here, edit, add a polygon, I can just draw a polygon around this hydraulic structure, and I can set the elevation to 1425.8802. And I don't know if you noticed it or not, but that was a value that I right-click copied attribute value from my identify results. I don't need a correction, but I do need to set this to grid and click OK. Now let's go ahead with the next one. So let's just do these in order. So that's 9, and here is 069. This one might be okay. So first off, we'll grab, this is 1381.4143, and let's grab the ID tool, and that should be on elevation, and that is looking at 1380.5452. So I'll copy that value and we'll do an elevation polygon, and we only have to capture the centroid of the grid element. So this one is 1380. Oh, and we can also name these, let's name this headwall correction. And this goes to grid, and that can go okay. All right, let's hit the next one. And we're doing the headwall on the upstream headwall. The channels shouldn't need to be done because they should represent the grid elevation at the cross section. We might want to set this one to this guy right here. All right, let's get the next one. That would be 070, and probably looks like I've already kind of moved it, but let's see what this grid elevation is. So grid elevation, click 1403, and then sample elevation and ID, and that should be 1401. So copy attribute value and draw the polygon. We'll call this headwall correction, or we can just call it headwall, and that goes to grid. And now we can go to the next one. So this one is the same thing. Here we need to set, what we don't want to do is we don't want to lose our weir, but we do want to set our elevation for this centroid to the right elevation. So let me grab the, all right, we'll just, I think we have to, let's see, I don't know if that's going to work or not. I think I'm going to have to, oh, it did work, nice. Okay, cool. Okay, that'll be 1390.44 headwall, Control V, G. Oh, that was cool. I didn't know that was going to work. And the next one shall be, this one is a little bit different. So instead of using a grid element, we can use a polygon to, but we're going to do something different on this one. So we can use a polygon or a polyline. I'm going to choose a polygon, and I will, let's see here, and I will, what I want to do on this one is I want to capture the centroid of the grid elements that I want to modify. That's the key to this. So yeah, we want to modify this one. We want to modify this one. We want to modify this one. But we don't necessarily want to, let's see, we This we want from here to here. Let's see, we go here to here to here. So we don't need this one or this one. We need this one, this one, and this one. Okay. And this one, of course. Okay. And this is going to be something different. Okay, so we're going to call this a minimum. Let's call this a minimum elevation. Minimum from grid or from ELEV raster. So that'll identify how we want to set that. This stays null, this stays null, and this goes to grid, and we click OK. Let's try the next one, 125, and this will be the same thing. So this will be coming from here to here, right click, and it'll be the same thing, min from ELEV and null G, and that one will use the same process as the previous one. This one also requires that this entire group of data be selected for a min. So looks like we need to get it from here. Let's get it, actually let me escape. Let me get it from here. All right, and then we just select along these guys all the way down to this guy, and then back up to here and right click. This will be min from ELEV and G. Okay, so that's going to assign a minimum elevation from inside of that raster to every grid element along that polygon. This one here we can do something similar with. Looks like these guys on this side, we need to do something similar with these guys. And I think the best way to do it is probably just to capture everything in this area. Like this. That's probably the best way to do that one. And then we right click. This goes to grid. This goes to min from ELEV. Okay. And this one looks like it's okay because that weir is right in the right area. I'm not sure if there's a little culvert between there or not. Wouldn't surprise me if there was. We might want to check that out. And we got this one, and we don't really want to lose this one. Let's see. Okay, let me see what this guy says. This guy says 1236, 39.2, 1230, oh sorry, 12, wait, oh my gosh. I don't know where the 12 came from. Okay, look, I'm looking at this value right here. Sorry, this says 1394. This says 1396, 1394, 1392, and 1396. Okay, so this is the street, 1396. 1394 is the scupper, so that's good. It'll allow flow to go from the street into the feature. And then 1392 will be, this will actually be set down to 1390. And then this one says 1396.7. But let's grab the elevation of our, because we're going to do something a little bit different this time. And we are going to apply a levee line here. So if I click, let's see, if I click, let me open up my levee line, edit, and then grab a feature. I want this levee line to just occupy this space right here. And right click, and this elevation of this levee needs to be set to, and it's not going to fail, it's just going to be set up as a weir, because overtopping a levee is just like overtopping a weir. So the elevation of this will be set to the crest elevation of the weir, and that should be 1396.5, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't have any failure. So let's get this ID tool again on our elevation data, and let's kind of click these guys, 1396.5. Okay, and then over here we need this this grid element to be less than 1396.5, and it's 1396.7 because it looks like there's a little bit of berm right here that might be causing that higher elevation. So let's check it with the ID tool. Yes, that's 1396.7, and it's basically just this let's see what we got here. 1396.7, 1396.7, 1396.9. So yeah, that's 1397. There's a bit of a hump in here. So let's take the elevation of this one down a little bit, and let's do these two. So they just need to be a little bit lower than 1396.5. So let's grab this guy. This one's fine. This one and this one. We'll just put these at 1396.4, 1396.3. We'll put them at 1396.3. And that way they won't impede the flow over that levee. So 1396.3 grid, and then let me ID that levee again just to see what I put there. Okay, that crest is 1396.5 and these are 1396.3. Okay, so that should cover it. Now this is done, so we save it, and we need to reprocess the levee now because we need that to be turned into a red levee. So let's grab the levee tool, I always lose it, and click yes. And we're not going to use elevation polygons, we're only going to use levee lines, and click create schematic layers from user layers, and that should set that up with the levee, and we'll just make sure that it's in there. Once it's done, we can turn our user levee or our schema levees on and make sure that it's in there. Okay, so here's our schema levees. Oh, sorry, I'm not quite done. Okay, here's our schema levees, and our schema levee is right there, so that's good. And so I'll turn those off, back off, and we're also done with these. So what I've done is I've set this levee up to act like a weir between these two grids. So we'll have to flow over top of the levee before it can get into this grid element and feed the hydraulic structure. And then the flow from the street can also go this way because this grid element elevation is lower than this grid element elevation. Now the only thing we need to do maybe is to move this one off this high marker and get it down here a little bit. So let's go ahead and make an adjustment to that one. So for that we go to the hydraulic structure and select structure line. Then we click the edit button and use the vertex tool to pick that up and just drag it down here one. Let's go check the other ones for that same need, okay? Because I kind of forgot to do that. So this one we can do the same thing with it. We can just put it down here. This one was fine because it was channel or floodplain to channel. Fine, fine. That one's fine. We already moved that one. Fine. That one's fine. Those two I already made the elevation adjustments here, so they will be fine. And that's it. And then those two are fine because they were already channel to channel. Okay, so now that means that our structure lines have been updated. So, oops, sorry, I just clicked the wrong button. I wanted to get rid of this. And then go to the structure lines, and I'll just click schematize since I moved a couple of structures. And now you can see, now that I clicked schematize, this one and the other one. Wait, sorry, hang on. Schematize. Oh, what is that? That is 122. Okay. Why didn't that move? Oh, because it's still being edited. Okay, hang on. Let me save it and then schematize it. Okay, now let me go to 122. Okay, that's better. And now let me go to 9. And that one is better. Okay, so those are repositioned correctly. And we have our levee in, and our levee has been computed, so we can turn off these levee lines. And our last thing that we did was setting the elevation. All our elevation polygons are now ready. So we can start to look at our elevation data and decide which ones to, oh, let me zoom in on this one. I forgot to maybe give that one the right name. So that one that's a head wall correction. Whoops, I didn't mean to click that. I meant to go to that table. Okay, let me edit that. That is a head wall correction. So let's just call it head wall. And then let's just call this one head wall. Whoops. Okay, and then let's just call this one minimum from ELEV. And then let me grab this one and see what it was. But it's a head wall, because you can tell it's a head wall because it has that. But let's go zoom to it and see. I think I just missed it. Oh no, I see. Yeah, that's the we'll call this the head wall correction, but it's not. But we want it to be this. We want it to be part of our head wall correction group. So now I need to save this and turn the editor off. Oh yes, and I need to save it. And okay, so we have all those that we need. So let's sort this by name, and then let's select all the ones for the head wall correction. And then now we leave those selected so that we can now perform the head wall correction. So on the Flow 2D grid tools, you'll see a grid element correction tool. And this case, we're using the head wall correction, and the head wall correction polygons were assigned an elevation in their attribute table. So we can use elevation polygon attributes, and we can click only selected polygons and click OK. So now you see that their filters turned on. And now if you were to select this grid element, it would go from 1393 or 2 or whatever it was down to 1390. And these two should both be 1396.3. So the water will come to these and then fill up, spill over the levee, and then get into here. Same thing. Now I haven't done these corrections yet, so let's do those now. And if I click, well, I think I already have the attribute table open, so I don't want to have two opened, but I do want to select the next group of elevation corrections. And now we go back to the elevation correction button. And this one's going to be a little bit different. This time we need to go to external layers mode, and we'll just choose our elevation polygons as our layer. And we don't need to do anything with a polygon layer. We do need centroids within polygons. That's important. And we're doing not elevation attributes, but we're doing statistics within polygons from the raster layer, minimum elevation, and we want to keep on statistics per grid element and only use selected features. So let's go over what these are doing. So what these are doing is, first of all, it's going to identify all of these selected layers, and the ones that I've selected say elevation from, or minimum elevation from the elevation layer. And what we're going to do is we're going to assess any grid element whose centroid falls within this polygon, falls within this little yellow polygon. So if that grid element's centroid falls within the grid element polygon, it's going to sample using a statistical, it's called like a zonal statistics, and the zone will be every grid element inside of the polygon. So it's going to sample a minimum from the raster for every grid element inside the polygon. And that's why you need the statistics per grid cell. Because if you uncheck this, it's going to give you the same elevation. It'll just be the minimum of the entire polygon. It's going to give that to every grid element whose centroid falls within the polygon. So this will mean that it gives you the minimum of every pixel inside every grid element whose centroid falls within the yellow area. Now I click OK and click Assign Finish, and if you zoom in on this area, you should see that this sorry, I think I clicked it off and I needed to click it on. 1405.1499, and this one should match. Let's grab the ID tool 1405.1499. So now they match. And that's exactly what it was supposed to do, except that might be a problem because this one might be still higher. That says 1405.1, 1405.14, 1405.16, 1405.16. This is 1405.17, and this is 1405.15, 1405.16, 1405.15. Okay, so it's barely much of a slope through here, but it is, we just want this one to be higher than this one. Okay, that's a check that it makes. And now we would be ready to export this and run it again because our elevation corrections have been applied. We put our levee in, and we've moved our outlets nodes away from the head walls slightly. So, and I think we are ready to export and run again. So this will be export DAT files, and we're going to call this post elevation change and correction. And we'll run that. Well, we have to finish exporting it before we can run it. Okay, now we can run that. And now we'll let this run, and I'll continue on to the next lesson, and the next lesson will be to show you how to do advanced modeling and basically how to use culverts. So I'm gonna stop the video here, and then we'll pick it up during the next and show you how to build generalized culvert equations on 2 of our culverts.